All right, thank you so much for joining today's NCAM webinar. I'm Amanda Villacorta, the Director of Grants, and I thank you all so much for joining. This is going to be our last webinar for the 2012-2013 cycle of the Youth Ambassador Program. So I have just a few slides to go through here, just to cover a few things to wrap up the year. So I just put together sort of a short agenda here. I'm going to cover just a snapshot of the year, taking a look back and seeing what everyone accomplished. I want to cover just a few points on some ideas and suggestions to sustain your project. Cover a few items of ways that all of you can keep in touch with us so we can keep hearing about all the wonderful things you're doing. And we'll be announcing the winner for the $200 grant contest for promoting the current cycle of, or the upcoming cycle of NCAM ambassadors. And then we'll wrap things up. So the first thing I wanted to do was kind of take a look back over the year. You guys all filled out great impact reports that really covered what you'd been doing from September all the way through April, and some of you are still continuing your projects. So we have a ton of information, and we're going through it to compile it all and put together a really nice report that'll summarize everything that you guys did. But what I did while we've been going through some of that information is pulled out just a few highlights to share with you guys. So across all of the service projects that you guys implemented, different youth that you worked with, in total, throughout all the ambassadors, you guys engaged just over 9,600 youth. So that's about 9,000 youth that we're serving in various ways and capacities with all of your projects. So that's a great number and a great sort of victory for this program year. Anytime we're able to get more youth to get involved in service and get the word out about all of your important projects, it's a great success. The second one I have here was after sort of the initial Hill event that we did at the NCAM training. We were encouraging all of you to continue working with public officials and engaged officials, elected officials, through various ways of engaging them in your projects. So excluding the Hill event, sort of all of your efforts through after the training through April, you all engaged just about 40 elected officials through various ways. So we'd heard from some different projects, ways that you were all working with your elected officials. Some did some proclamations for projects that were going on. Quite a few had elected officials that came to their projects and were able to speak as VIPs, or to also sort of get their hands dirty and work on some of the service components. So it was a great way and great efforts that all of you implemented in terms of keeping your elected officials engaged in your projects. And then taking sort of a look back, we had all of the ambassadors complete pre-program or pre-training assessments around your skills. And then during the post-project impact report, we had you complete the same assessment of your skills. And so there was quite a few categories, but one that really stood out to me was that we were hearing from all the ambassadors that all of you really wanted to gain more expertise and more experience in building partnerships. And so we had a 37 increase of those of you that considered yourself experts in partnerships and building partnerships over the year. So I believe there was only 18% of you at the beginning of the year that considered yourself experts in building partnerships, and by the end of the program year, that increased to 55%. So that's a great jump and great increase, and we can kind of take a look back and see that we were able to help you in finding ways and reaching out and finding resources to build partnerships through your project. So that's another great success. And then I also just included a couple of quotes here from a couple of ambassadors, which I thought were kind of nice sort of personal reflections of what the experience was for the ambassadors themselves. So just again, just wanted to take a quick look at the past year and just highlight a few program successes. Next, I wanted to touch on a few ideas and suggestions for sustaining your project. Many of you, when you had already come into the program, already had well-established projects, but some of you were just getting started. And so through, hopefully through some continued engagement on the Youth Action Center, we can kind of continue the movement and continue the conversation on how to keep your projects going. But here I just kind of capitalized and highlighted a few ideas. So the first one is, now that you have at least accomplished, this program year, being an ambassador for the past year, it's really important that you tell everyone about your success. So maybe it's going back to your impact report, pulling out some of those important numbers, like the number of youth that you engaged, or the number of mentors that you were able to find volunteers for in your project. So pulling out some of that important information and highlighting some of your success, and then make sure to tell everyone about that. So whether it be partners you had worked with, going back to maybe some of your media contacts, maybe some folks that initially contacted you about your project, it's important to go back to them and tell them about your success. And that's just another great way to keep sustaining your project and making sure everyone knows that this wasn't just a one-time deal, that you want to keep your project going. Another way is to get some of maybe your youth volunteers involved as leaders in your project. So in a lot of the projects that we work with and we see youth building themselves, it's typically one person, and sometimes that can either get lonely, or sometimes your project starts to become so big that you're not able to sort of sustain it and maintain it yourself. So it's important at the beginning, or sort of as you're building your project and your campaign, that you start to get other youth leaders involved and find a special way that you can tap into their expertise, let them have a voice in terms of how the project and the program continues, and really make them a leader, so that way you can grow the project bigger and make sure you have enough people to support it. Or sometimes if you're in a position where you may need to step away from your project or focus on another part of your life, you can make sure that your project and the issue area that you're working on continues, and that it's not sort of stopped and ended just because you're not able to focus on it. Another piece that I wanted to include, and a few of the ambassadors really had some great examples of this next one, was taking just one piece of your project and finding a way to replicate it and share how someone else could do that. So even though your project may have had various components and maybe different service projects that went on, or there was different elements of your project that took place, one great way to sustain your project is to find one piece or maybe one element of your project that you could share, and maybe do an easy sort of how-to tutorial on how someone else, maybe in another county, in another school, from another organization, could take one piece of your project and replicate it and be able to implement it in their local town or in their local community. One example I'm thinking of, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on the state right now, but one of the ambassadors focused on teen driver safety and making sure that, especially around prom season, that teens were able to sort of get the awareness and importance of driving safe around that time. And so they had created a sticker that went out to flower shops, and that sticker went on all of the bouquets and the corsages that were going out for proms. And it was just a simple way that they could share it with flower shops across the state and other counties and with other schools, and they were able to get the word out, the importance. So there was other elements and pieces of that ambassador's project, so that was one easy way that they could share and replicate elements of their project. And then the last one is just a reminder to keep researching and learning about your issue. This is another great way that you're able to kind of stay on top of your project, and you're able to sort of stay fresh on what's happening with your issue area. It's another great way that You can find ways to grow your project, maybe go in a different direction or think of different elements to build to your project by continuing your research, continuing conversations in your community with maybe other organizations that are focused on your issue area. And it really just helps you kind of stay on top of your field and what you're working on and what you care about. So at the bottom, I've included just two easy sites from our website. One is one way that you can kind of continue to hopefully help with funding if that's an area that your project needs. So I included the link to our grants page. And then the other one is our resource page. And we do have specific resources on sustaining your project, so I would encourage you to check those out. But we're always finding and putting together new resources that can help youth service projects. So I continue to encourage you to check those out. Next, we wanted to make sure that you guys all have the invitation and the request to keep in touch with us. We really want to be able to hear about what your projects are doing, what you yourself are doing, and what interests you have. So please, please, please keep in touch with us. And here I just gave 3 easy examples. We would love for you all to stay a part of the Youth Action Center. We will have another cycle of ambassadors that will be coming on to the Youth Action Center soon, but we would love for you to stay on the Youth Action Center to either encourage the new ambassadors coming on or just to keep in touch and hear some of the updates and resources and information that we're sharing on there. So we encourage you to stay on and stay a part of the Youth Action Center, but we understand if you need to get off of the group and focus on other areas. But that's one way that we'd love for you to keep in touch and keep encouraging new ambassadors coming on. And then you're always welcome to email us any updates you have, any highlights going on. And that's another great way that we're able to also share your information and share what you guys are doing. So this year I know we did a couple of highlights with blogs, social media. We did lots of sort of shout outs about projects that were going on, and we would love to continue to do that and highlight your projects. So please email us about maybe an important service project you have coming up. If you got, maybe a project in your local newspaper, please just share that with us. And the last thing is there's always an open door and open invitation to continue to share your feedback with us about the program. I know that was one of the questions that we had in the impact report, and we got some great feedback from the ambassadors. So we thank you for that, but we want to continue to get more feedback. So after you're wrapping things up, or as you kind of are able to take a deep breath over the summer, if you think of other ways that we could improve the youth ambassador program, or certain elements that you think maybe we need to add to it, please share that with us. All right, and then I think our next slide is the winner. So Olivia from Minnesota was the ambassador that did the most promotion on the next cycle of the ambassador application. So a big thanks to Olivia and to everyone else that really got the word out and was able to promote this next year's application and cycle coming together. We've already started diving in deep and reviewing all the applications that were submitted, and we're seeing some great project ideas. I know as you guys hopefully get to hear more about them, you'll really be impressed and excited about the upcoming projects. But again, thanks so much to Olivia, and she'll receive the $200 additional grant to go towards her project. So just to wrap things up, we want to thank everyone for all of your hard work, dedication, and participation in this year's program. And we wish you guys the best of luck in your future endeavors and continuing your projects and all your ongoing efforts. It's been great working with all of you, and we really had a great year. And definitely a success for kicking off the first year of the NCAM Youth Ambassador Program. So I'm going to see here if we can hear from Eileen from Festival of Children. So hold tight just one moment. Eileen, are you there? Well, I think her microphone's not working. But if it was, I'm sure she would have nothing but great things to say and to share with all of you. And working closely with Festival of Children, it's been great. I know they've enjoyed hearing all of your project successes and getting to speak with you guys on the Youth Action Center, and really just seeing the impact that you've made and had over this past year in such an important program that they care so much about. So with that, I will stop the recording, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box.